crank that up once again so that it's got that slope. Okay, so once it ricochets off, now we're finally getting to like our first normal parabola, or what I would call our normal parabola. We can go ahead and shrink these, just make these into normal looking parabolas here. Break that tangent, there you go. So now that's a nice bounce. And you might have to double check these things again, because you may not have that, it moves 25% of the distance, or 25% of the distance in half the time. You can kind of see that here. This would be the halfway point. It's kind of doing 25%, maybe 30, I don't know. So you might just massage those curves a little bit. Just massage that. So now, without changing anything else, that was just the translation in the Y. You can play this. Okay, that's already feeling a lot better. Just by getting the right kind of timing on that, the right kind of spacing on those. The next thing you would go for would probably be this translation side to side. And again, just understanding that while it's in the air, it's a constant sideways speed, right? So I'm just grabbing these two keys. This is as long as it's in the air, so that's going to be linear. And then from frame 10 to when it hits that, so that's from here to there, that's also going to be linear. It's not going to accelerate sideways. And same thing until it hits the wall here. Now you can see what happened there? Without changing these curves, see how it's like going sideways and then it kind of curves away from the wall and then impacts? That's because of how this curve appears here. It actually has that little slowdown built into it. So we don't want that. We want that to be a linear thing where it's going straight from one to the other. See that? So now that makes it more realistic, parabolically speaking. And again, here to here, this is when it's in the air, and then from 23 to 32, that's when it's in the air, so we can get rid of this one. And this is what I would call the cleanup stage. I'm kind of jumping right into cleaning these things up. But if you know these basic rules, you could do that too, and just give yourself a good starting point. So now that those are cleaned up, let's take another look. Not bad, not bad. It actually looks like it just barely escapes hitting that bowling ball there. Ding, ding. Ooh, it does. It really just barely escapes. Okay, so you're not going to really see this probably accurately if you are if you're just letting Maya play it back. So remember, I don't remember if you guys remember this or not, but there is an option where you can go here to playback speed, and you can say play every frame and free. If you play every frame, it won't, whoa, okay, I guess that's too fast. Don't set it to free if you're just dealing with the balls, because that's too fast. But play every frame max real time. So that means that it will try to play in real time, and it will always play every frame. So if it has to slow down the playback, it will, but it will play every frame so you can make sure you're seeing everything that's going on. Okay, that's just one way you can evaluate your work. Now, when these things impact, you really, you have to decide, okay, which object's going to squash, which object's going to stretch. Is there going to be squash and stretch? I think in this particular case there would be, because it's probably like a tennis ball impacting a bowling ball. Yeah, there'd probably be a little bit of an impact there. And so then you really just have to, find a way to get that impact happening in the right direction. Kind of like that. So you get a little stretch there. You go back to frame 8, you put those back to 0. Oops, I'm sorry, not 0. Put to 1. Yeah, put to 1. So that it impacts, and then on the next frame, again, set this back to 1. And now what I did, I rotated the Z. That's mainly just to give it, to turn the axis in the direction that I want the stretch to take place. That's all. So there I go. I might have a little bit of a stretch like that. And on frame 11, because I'm doing these as realistic balls, I'm going to probably put it right back to its normal shape. So really the only deformed frames we have are at the point of impact and just after the point of impact. Okay, and if you want to amplify that feeling of impact, once again, what you might do is take the balls and sink them into each other even a little bit more. You just increase that impact a little bit. And you would do the same thing when it hits the roof here. Kind of sink it in, give it a little bit of squash. And you'll feel it. You don't want to sink it in too far. That was too far. What's wrong? Sorry, guys. So, is this helping, Richard? Because you asked the question. Okay, cool. Is there something that you've seen that I'm doing that you want explained further?
I think it's pretty much explained everything.
Okay. Because yeah, I mean, from here on out, it would just be continuing to refine, making sure all the arcs look right, get all the squash and stretch in there.
It's mostly, it's still, I've been noticing I've been having a lot of trouble with the, you brought it up a couple times, it's the spacing, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Because usually on the bounces, it's, you told us to give it like that huge bounce right after the impact. So you said that was the greatest space?
Yeah, it's not a huge bounce. It's basically like I was doing here, where whatever this first bit of spacing is right after the impact, everything that happens after that is going to be smaller, right? Yeah, because this is the moment where you get the most energy, and it's basically, they're throwing each other apart, right? So that's all I mean. So when I initially positioned this out, I think this first ball position was actually much further away. I think I put it over here. But then when I went in to try and figure out my proper spacing, I was looking at my curves, and I just realized, well, if I'm going to have the kind of motion that I wanted to have, then it had to be much less. Not as far along, basically. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, I've just been having trouble kind of getting that spacing correct. I've been finding to work on that.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, a lot of this is learning to feel it, but also trial and error.
Yeah.
You know, that's so. I guess just keep trying different combinations until you get something you like.